watching those two games last night, the Eastern Conference game and then the Nuggets Timberwolves game, it's just, I feel like, I hate to say this, I don't want to hate on, the Knicks or anything like that. It just feels like a different kind of level of basketball. Do you agree?
It's not even close. It's not even close. Bro, the Eastern, you're it's like the JV side, with the exception of Brunson. You're watching a Knicks Pacers game versus watching a Denver Minnesota game. It's two different leagues of teams. You know what I'm saying? Like the Knicks are like a good basketball club. They're not great. Same with Indianapolis. Boston's going to essentially just speed walk right to the finals. And from what it looks like, Minnesota is too. They beat the hell out of Phoenix, right? That wasn't competitive at all. I mean, they smacked.
Do you feel a little?
Did Phoenix win the game, or they get swept?
Swept.
Yeah,
do you feel
swept.
a little better about Phoenix though now that you're seeing what the Timberwolves are doing against the Nuggets?
I mean, they're about to sweep bro. If they sweep Denver after sweeping Phoenix, it's over.
Well, now that we're talking about Phoenix, what's up with your guy, Matt Ishbia, saying these things like 26 other teams in the NBA would change their roster for ours.
Well, I love
probably
Matt.
Make these changes. Did it seem a little delusional to you, or do you like the confidence?
Both. I love the confidence as an owner to be like, yo, listen, man, I love our team. I love what we got going. Obviously, we've had a down year. We want to win more games, but we're farther than what people think. There's a lot of teams that would love to have the roster and stars that we have on our team. And I think that's what he was trying to allude and say. And I love Matt for doing that and having that confidence in your team. In saying that, they're not close.
You get swept out of the first round, you should probably make some changes.
Yeah, there's some major changes they have to make. Some major changes.
Right.
And I don't know, that could be at all different levels. Obviously, from a player standpoint and roster standpoint, they got to make changes. But, I don't know if that's where he stops. I don't know if front office is going to have changes. They're already talking about changes at the coaching spot with Frank Vogel. I don't really agree with that. I don't know who out there you could get right now that's on the market that's available to coach that's better than Frank Vogel. I got to be honest with you. He's already a proven coach. I think Frank Vogel's a pretty damn good coach. I don't think you make that change. And that's why, regardless of which, I hear what he's saying. You got a good coach. You got Kevin Durant. You got Grayson Allen. You just signed back, who had a great year and wasn't available for the playoffs. You still got Devin. You have a lot of these good, talented players. But this team has not proven to win, and they don't have any leadership. So that's a problem, considering the payroll that this guy's cashing out right now. You have issues with this team. They underperform. They don't fit well together. The three players don't fit together. You could see that from the far, that Brad and Devin and Kevin, that experiment does not work. Not saying it can't. They could get in the lab this summer and cook up some type of chemistry. Nothing's impossible. But from the looks of their game styles and how they all three like to play and want to play, that doesn't seem very copacetic. So that's something they're going to have to look at. So yeah, it's a little bit of both. There's some delusion there. I don't think every team in the league wants your roster or your problems or your payroll. I think that's just completely wrong. I don't think they're close. I don't. Right. But I don't think they're far away. You don't have those type of star level players and just be like, yo, we got to rebuild. The R word is nowhere. And I think that's what he is trying to say on the other side, where I do agree with Matt. The R word's not floating around over there. There's no rebuild with the type of players that they have.
Right.
So he's like, yo, we're not far away. We can move a couple guys, and the next thing you know, we got a pretty damn good team. He's correct. So that's there. I don't think they're close, but they're not far. They're right in the middle, but they got star power, but the salary's too much. They're paying too much. It's up and down, just like their season. There's a lot of roller coasters of events going on over there. So we'll see what happens.
Can I make a suggestion for the Lakers and the Suns? Both got bounced out of the first round.
Yep.
Lakers, you go to the finals, you win the title in 2020, the bubble year.
Mm-hmm.
No one's on that team anymore from that team besides Anthony Davis and LeBron James. You almost change everything in a matter of 2 or 3 years.
Yes.
The Phoenix Suns go to the finals and lose in 2021 against the Milwaukee Bucks. Devin Booker's the last remaining guy on that team still. Maybe when you go to the finals or you achieve great success, you don't just completely change the entire roster? Because what is? I mean,
well, listen, we don't know if that was a James Jones decision or a Matt Ishbia decision,
right?
Because those changes happened right when Matt bought the team.
Absolutely.
Okay, you know what I mean. Just to be fair, their last owner, Sarver, that team was put together properly, and they were youthful. Mikal Bridges, who I thought could have grown to be like a Scotty-esque type player. What you see with Jaden McDaniels and Ant, that could essentially be what you see. You just have to have some patience and marinate.
It could have been him and Devin Booker's.
That's what I'm saying, yes.
Right.
When I see Jaden McDaniels, Anthony Edwards, and again, people thought Ant was comedic when he was like, they got KD, but we got Jaden. Everybody, that was a meme for a long time, and it wasn't one pointed in their direction as a compliment. It was satire for everybody. People heard that and laughed. They don't laugh about that no more. They saw that series and how Jaden McDaniels played not only on defense, because we know what he did to Devin and Kevin, but what he did on offense. His scoring ability, his ability to get to a shot. He has a mid-range, good spot-up shooter.
Last night he had the highest plus-minus in the game. So.
Like, he's having a huge impact.
Right.
And if you remember that run that Phoenix had, Mikal Bridges was huge. He was vital to that team. He was their best defender. He was like third in scoring. A lot of nights he was second in scoring. And that was before Brooklyn Mikal, when he really started getting in his handle in his bag and really getting to that midi that he has now. Like, he could be what we see in Minnesota. It could have been Devin, Mikal, just like you see Jaden and Ant, and a proper young team mixed with savvy vets, a Kyle Anderson, a Michael Conley, a Rudy Gobert, mixed in the group. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Right. I mean, listen, they ended the bubble. They went 8-0, but didn't make the playoffs in the bubble. And then they built that momentum to the next year with Chris Paul, and they go to the finals. Things were going up. If you're a Phoenix Suns fan, you're like, we got this awesome young team.
They were the same team. They were the same team as Minnesota. Now, again, they weren't as long and as athletic, and they weren't as defensively potent as Minnesota.
Right.
Not even in the same realm. So that's the biggest difference.
Yeah.
With that being said, what they had as Michael Conley, they had as Chris Paul. What they have is Anthony Edwards, they had as Devin Booker. What they had is Jaden McDaniels, they had as Mikal Bridges. You know what I'm saying? What they had is Karl Anthony Towns. Again, he's not as good, but they had like a Cam Johnson. You had was it Aiden? You had Aiden down there. Like, bro, you had young talent, bro. Like, young guys. And they could have just built that team up. But patience is a motherfucker, man. It's a motherfucker. When you want to win now and Kevin Durant's available, you throw the whole damn team at him. And now you're stuck with a team that's very, very top heavy with a guy that could leave or not leave. No one knows his temperament. And where do we go from here?
Right.
Now the future is unsure with a bunch of question marks. When you probably had yourself a 5, 6, 7, 8-year window with this young group that was just only going to get better. Bro, Mikal Bridges would only get better, and so would Aiden. That shit got sour. And the Aiden situation was kind of sour before.
Well, listen, they don't lose to the Mavericks, get upset by the Mavericks in that 7-game series. We're talking about a whole different, trajectory of that.
That did happen. It did happen.
Right.
My thing is, you go back to the drawing board and you plug and play. You know what? I'm going to say this just because you have made this point multiple times this year, Pausha, and it's dead correct. It doesn't always have to be a blockbuster trade. It doesn't always have to be 3 stars, 4 stars. Bro, the biggest change from a team could just happen from a couple role players, and we've seen it. We're seeing it more than ever right now. The New York Knicks didn't get any superstars this year, but they went and got like Josh Hart's over the past couple of years and DiVincenzo's, and they went and got OG, and everyone's like, yeah, OG's good. No, they're really good role players, man. They've changed the whole team, the New York Knicks, dog. Fucking Boston Celtics, man, they got rid of Marcus Smart, and they got rid of this guy, and everybody's like, oh, why? What are they doing? How could they ever? And they went and got Derek White. They cleaned house. You can't be scared to make these decisions. Kendrick Perks said that the other day. He's like, bro, you cannot be scared to like lose a guy. Like, bro, no one thought the Celtics would ever get rid of Marcus Smart. He was the heart and soul of their team. Remember that? No, they were like, hey, listen, man, we got to fine tune some things. We got our stars. We don't need another star. Let's double down on Derek White. Let's go get a Porzingis. Let's go get this guy. And then they got Drew. Then you just like the small pieces, and I hate saying they're small because they're not. But compared to like the stars,
Well, you're looking at the Dallas Mavericks did it with PJ Washington and Daniel Gafford at the deadline.
Changed their team.
Changed their team.
They got rid of Grant Williams. They
might
got rid
have
of
saved Jason Kidd's job. He just signed a multi-year extension. People were talking about the opposite before.
Might have saved the job.
Yeah.
He was on his way out, brother. If they lose first round or don't make the playoffs, Jason Kidd is not the head coach of the Dallas Mavericks next year. That's just the facts. They get rid of Grant Williams, bring in PJ Washington, Gafford, some guys that can play and help them out. Bro, now we're talking about a team that's headed to the second round starting tonight. Jason Kidd gets an extension. Everything's peachy. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, making the necessary changes don't always have to be blockbuster. And adding solid role players to your team can change your season. The Knicks are doing it with DiVincenzo and Josh Hart and OG. The Celtics are doing it with Derek White. You've seen what Tim Connelly did. Brought in a whole bunch of guys, Nikhil Alexander, Kyle Anderson, Jaden McDaniels, all these role players, but they're stars as a role player in their role. And then you actually have these stars in Anthony Edwards, you have Karl Anthony Towns, whatever. But those guys have been there. Stick with the basis. Like, that's what I'm saying. And obviously we can go back and say coulda, woulda, shoulda with the Phoenix Suns. But this, the reality is, like, a lot of teams have thrown a lot at Kevin, and it hasn't worked out well, with the exception of one, and that's Golden State. And you can kind of go up and down about that because they were really good before him, and they won a championship after him. So they're definitely better with him, no doubt about it. But that seems to be like when Brooklyn did it, it didn't work out. And now we're seeing Phoenix do it, and it hasn't worked out yet. Story's far from over. But yeah, like you said, man, sometimes it doesn't always have to be blockbuster, and good role players are hard to, are hard to come by.